Puka Nacua says he's retiring at 30 years old. What's that do for his dynasty value? Now, granted, he's got a lot of years left. Does that mean 6? Does it mean 7? But certainly having a finite answer to when he's walking away from the game is going to have implications in terms of value. And there's already concerns about Puka's long-term value because of injury and the way he puts his body at risk. Matthew Stafford, how long is he going to play? How long will he even be in LA? So there's a lot to talk about regarding Puka Nacua. I'll go over that in a second. We've got more news. We've got Jeanty Skattebo hype. We're going to hype that train up. The video for him is coming up next. I've been doing my rookie profile videos. They're on the main YouTube page. If you go to my YouTube homepage and you scroll to the middle, you'll see ADP show row. You'll see a rookie profile row. Jeanty Skattebo, Marion Hampton are the next two videos to drop. Then Ted McMillan. Get ready for those one individual player videos as we break down all the rookies. We're going to talk about Ashton Jeanty. We're going to talk about Trey Henderson on today's show. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. We got a lot more to go over. The Fantasy Football Show, Monday through Friday. News show, breaking news show. Every Monday through Friday show begins right now. File on in.
.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Okay, so here we are breaking down all of this news. So file on in. There's a lot to go over. Then we're going to open the phone lines. We're going to get to some predictions. We're going to talk to these rookie running backs. We're going to talk about how Ashton Jeanty is a top 5 running back in the making, and people just don't know it. But we know it because we cook on this channel.
Let him cook.
Malik Nabers, dark horse wide receiver 1. No one's saying draft him at 1 overall. These people in the comments are like, oh, that's crazy. I can't believe you're telling people to draft Nabers over Jamar Chase. Who's telling people to do that? On this channel? Is there anybody else? Let's see. Let's see what Kruger's been saying. Kruger, have you been telling people to draft Malik Nabers over Jamar Chase?
Hey, Smitty, I've always backed Malik Nabers as a top contender, especially with his insane potential. But Jamar Chase is a legend, and our pancake stack is still rock solid. It's all about the balance.
I didn't think so. Not on my watch. So don't run your mouth in the comments about something you know nothing about. You heard something, you started making assumptions. You were typing before you even watched 5 minutes of the video. And that was improv. I didn't prep that with Krug or anything. In fact, let's ask him real quickly. Kruger, just how good could Malik Nabers be, though? If Jamar Chase is, let's say, filet mignon, what is Malik Nabers?
Smitty, if Jamar Chase is filet mignon, then Malik Nabers could be that premium Wagyu beef. Unmatched marbling and flavor, ready to dominate the field with his explosive potential. It's all about that elite quality and consistency.
How many W's will Jameis Winston eat this season as he's now the new starting quarterback for the New York Giants, throwing to that Wagyu piece of meat?
Oh, if Jameis Winston's serving up W's in New York, it's going to be a feast. With Malik Nabers out there, they could easily rack up 9 to 10 wins if they get the chemistry right. But it's all about minimizing those interceptions and staying consistent. It's going to be exciting to watch.
You got to love the Krugmeister coming in strong with the meat analogies and all that. Anyway, back on point. We'll get back to the Jameis Winston and Nabers debate because there's a lot to talk about. And there's a lot more of what your boy predicted last night coming out today in the news. We're always ahead of the curve here on the Fantasy Football Show. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button and like. Let's see if Kruger's got a nice way to tell you to subscribe and like. Kruger, tell the people to subscribe and like to the channel in your own original way.
All right, listen up, everyone. If you're enjoying the content and want to stay ahead in the fantasy football game, smash that like button. slap that subscribe button and join the crew. We're building a powerhouse here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. Let's go.
Thank you, Kruger. Appreciate you being a part of this channel, and you're absolutely amazing. Thank you, Kruger. Thank you.
You make me feel like a spaceman, Smitty. Always here to elevate the game. Let's keep it rolling.
He doesn't miss, man. He doesn't miss. All right, Puka Nacua says that I know I want to retire at the age of 30. He's turning 24 in May. So he walks into 2025 as a 24-year-old man. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. If he retired at 30, does he play 7 years or does he only play 6? And while you might say that's not a concern to me, Smitty, 6 years is good. It is in a sense, and I always tell people they play too far into the future. And if you can actually take advantage of this and get Puka on the cheap in Dynasty, I might be the reverse angle of what you might think I would be, saying maybe go get him cheaper, but I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect. And we're 6-7 years away from that decision. He might say, I think I'm going to go one more year. So it's really hard. But he could also say at 28, 29, if he suffers through a lot of injuries, let's say he has a couple concussions, this is the kind of guy his mindset would be to potentially walk away. And let me just make one more point. Let me read the rest of his quote here. He says that I think of Aaron Donald to go out on top. I think it would be super cool. But also, I want to have a big family. I want to have at least a starting 5. I came from a big family, so I need 5 boys for sure. But also, like, I want to be able to be a part of their lives and be active as I can with them. Puka wants to walk away early enough to raise a family. And you got to appreciate that. You got to love that. But you also, we're human beings. And I'm just being honest with you. It kind of feels like you're getting kicked in the nutsack and he's leaving you hanging. You know, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, the right thing to say here is, oh, great, good for you. Family first. It's fantastic. But really, I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm here to be blunt. And this doesn't feel good coming from a player that's on your roster. This is a guy that you drafted and he's supposed to do a job. And here he is telling you he's going to go raise a family. That's more important than football. You can pretend that that's the wrong answer, but that's the way you all feel. Don't act like you're bigger and better and stronger and faster than you actually are. It's not something you want to hear. It just isn't. You know, good for him. But no one really at the end of the day wants him to retire and raise the family versus play longer than raise the family later. Put it off a little bit, Puka. You only get this one shot. Now, I will say he's going to make more than enough money to really have it be a problem, right? He's going to make more than enough money. It ain't going to be a big deal. But at the end of the day, it's still, you know, something that we have to consider as a kick to the sack in terms of value. You also want your receiver to have a little bit of that diva. This is why you want a diva receiver. You want a diva that thinks he can play forever. That way your dynasty aspirations are safe. But to hear, really the most important thing to me is raising a family, having 5 kids, and walking away from the game early. Not what you want to hear. It's just not. It doesn't matter how good of a person you want to be in this moment in time. You don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. That made me feel alone. That's like when you're the last person up in your household and someone says, all right, I'm going to go ahead and go to bed and hit the rack. You're like, what? You're going to leave me hanging? I'm the only one up? That's not what you want to hear. Look, I already had doubts about Puka Nacua's dynasty value matching up to the reality. People were putting him at 4, 5, 6 overall, and he's the most injury likely player to be drafted inside the top 15 fantasy football redraft or dynasty. He's the most likely top 15 player, unless McCaffrey slips in, or Henry, I guess, you know, probably Henry. But wide receiver, the most likely to get injured wide receiver in the top 15 overall players drafted. So round and a half. The top round and a half, there's no more likely player to get injured. Why? The way he plays. Like, if I got to explain why, I don't think you're actually watching Puka Nacua football. You also, in Dynasty, have that fear of longevity. You also have the Cooper Kupp theory that he's going to be replaced because in 2021, there's not a single soul on this earth that would have said that Cooper Kupp was going to vanish as quickly as he vanished. Literally, the 2021 season and then he was never the same again. He was everybody's new #1 dynasty darling. Dare I say, if you're in a dynasty startup after the 2021 season, Cooper Kupp went in the top 4, guaranteed. And he was never the same. He got replaced very quickly by this man. You also have the presence of Davante Adams now in LA, which kind of hurts his redraft value. You have Matthew Stafford year to year. His new contract, some of you think he got a new deal. That means he's there for multiple seasons. You're not paying attention to this show, and you're not paying attention to the details, so let me fill you in. Matthew Stafford, once again this year, signed a contract that is more thought of to be year to year. It is not something that is going to feed him and wet his beak in 2026. So, like McVay said, after they just got this new deal done, McVay said, we will readdress it next year. It's a year-to-year approach with this contract situation, so he might not even be there in 2026 if he even plays football in 2026. So what happens when Stafford's not in the lineup? I don't know. What happens when McVay's not in his situation there, manning the fort? Even if Stafford was there, I don't know. What happens if both of them are gone? I don't know. And if Puka's going to retire and hang it up at 30, who's to say he won't do it at 28, 29 if he has too many injuries? Because he wants, the most important thing to him is growing up with his family, raising his family, being able to be active. And so his likely injury history that awaits could have an impact on whether it's 29, 28, 30, 31. We don't know. But this is definitely concerning from a dynasty perspective. It definitely adds more concern to the already building concern for me that this guy might be on the same track as Cooper Kupp. Big for a couple years and then vanishes. You can say what you want. You can look at me with a weird, strange face. But when I said avoid, and I did say grab Cooper Kupp last year because his value was so low, it's always going to go like this. When everybody goes left, we go right. But who said to stay away from Cooper Kupp the year he fell off? This man. So I'm not saying this is the year that Puka falls off. I'm saying from a dynasty angle, I'm out. From a dynasty angle, I want to trade this in. There's too many red flags for the long-term value that I just broke down from coach, from quarterback, from entire system, from Davante Adams diluting his value for a year or two, from the fact that he's an injury risk, from the fact that he can walk away a little earlier than normal. The dynasty value is in flux. The redraft value because of Adams and injuries are in flux. To the degree we aren't paying top 4, 5, 6 overall value. This guy was going, there were a lot of people saying he's my #1 wide receiver. And I just don't understand that value. As for the other pieces of news before we get into some of the rookie content, this makes total sense, and it's exactly what we predict to happen. Kirk Cousins, who has a no trade clause in his contract, means he could say no to anything. That means the Falcons aren't even wasting their time right now trying to move him because they got to wait on his beck and call. He can squash any sort of trade that goes down. But this right here, Kirk Cousins is planning on waiting until after the NFL draft to potentially waive his no trade clause with the Falcons. He doesn't want to repeat of what happened last year. He wants to go somewhere where there's no competition for a starting quarterback job. He wants to wait. If he goes to Pittsburgh now and Aaron Rodgers comes over, or he goes to Pittsburgh now and they draft Milroe, or he goes to Pittsburgh and Shedeur falls to the 20s and Pittsburgh takes him. He wants nothing to do with that. You can't blame him. But beggars can't be choosers. You could also have these teams fill the important quarterback roles and then no one wants you. Or the teams that are willing to go get you are no longer in the business of going after a quarterback because they drafted one, or they brought in Aaron Rodgers, or they traded for Joe Milton. So this could become a problem. Matto says Cousins to Seattle. Matto, did you listen to a word I just said? Did you listen to a word I just said? Why in the hell would he choose Seattle when Darnold just signed a new deal? I think he's joking. He's got to be joking. He's got to be joking. Okay, so Kirk Cousins, we'll find out more later, but this could backfire on him. The couple teams willing to trade for him might solve their quarterback situation early because they can't afford to wait on Kirk Cousins. What if the deal doesn't go through? Can't just wait. So everyone's going to try and solve their quarterback position and situation. He's going to put himself in a weird spot. Maybe it will be Seattle after all. Maybe Matto will be right. This right here. Gee, this looks familiar. I don't know about you guys, but I remember saying this last night. Talking about it last night, that this would be what we hear today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. Some people around the NFL are beginning to think, and this is some people, sources, trust me, bro, the janitor's mother's dry cleaner, are beginning to think that the Giants' plan at QB could be Jameis Winston, another veteran quarterback, and a developmental QB in the draft. That wouldn't be selected at number 3, this particular report. Others say that it could be at number 3. Others say they could trade down. Others say they could take Milroe in the second round, which we've been talking about. But they certainly want to draft another developmental quarterback at the very least. I think they will take him at 3 if Shedeur Sanders is the guy and he's sitting there. So this is one report on this. We also have this coming out of Doug Rush. Doug Rush, I believe, is who posted this originally. But Deion Sanders said this in regards to Shedeur playing in New York. Let's hope it's New York. Let's hope it's New York. Deion Sanders, father of Shedeur Sanders, he said, let's hope it's New York. This is a recent quote of his when asked where he believes Shedeur Sanders will be drafted. They don't want him going to the Browns. And again, this goes back to the conversation we've had where he has said, I will not force my son, nor can I. It's his decision. I have no true control. He has his influence. He's going to give him his advice. And Deion doesn't want him going to Cleveland. I don't think Shedeur wants to go to Cleveland at all. And so you have two very polarizing figures. One is a rookie, not as polarizing as the other. The other is the father, Deion Sanders. But you also have an organization in the Cleveland Browns that are drafting number 2 overall, and they can't afford to mess this up. They can't do it. They've already screwed up way too much at the quarterback position. They're paying Deshaun Watson $40+ million next season. Their dead cap, if they were to cut Deshaun right now, is $135 million. And if the quarterback they want to draft and his father, Deion Sanders, says, we don't like this at all, he doesn't want to play for you, I don't think they're going to draft him. Everybody keeps saying the Browns are going to draft Shedeur. They might, they could. I don't have the answer to this. This is not logical. This is not inside the realm of my control. This is something I can only give you my opinion. And my opinion is that there's no way the Browns are considering drafting him if he doesn't want to play there. They can't afford to have another situation unravel at the quarterback spot. So he will be there at 3, and the Giants will be crazy not to take him, and I don't think they're going to pass on it. So any report that says they're not likely to take him at 3, Shedeur, if he's there, garbage. Garbage, wherever it initiates from. Garbage. And this man right here, speaking of what a lot of people think when you look up garbage in the dictionary, it's this man right here because they can't stand it. Breaking news here from Pro Football Talk. It's a safe bet that Aaron Rodgers will eventually end up signing with the Steelers. Per Pro Football Talk, Rodgers spent more than 6 hours visiting with the Steelers on Friday. Your boy was in California. We thought maybe this news would break and I'd have to go live while I was on my vacation, but no, Aaron Rodgers hasn't done anything yet. But what have we been saying? He's going to Pittsburgh. What have we been saying? He's going to Pittsburgh. What did we say a long time ago? Remember, this is months ago. I said before there was even a sliver of buzz or hints or news or anything. I did a show where I said, I think I even banged this table if I remember exactly how it happened. I was going, Pittsburgh. He'd be wonderful in Pittsburgh. I think him, and I did say Davante Adams, if you remember that live stream, him and Davante Adams together in Pittsburgh would be as good of a shot at winning multiple playoff games as you can get. Now, Adams didn't go to Pittsburgh, but boy, that was before there was any buzz at all. It does feel like Aaron Rodgers is just taking his time. He will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I'm almost sure of it. He could walk away, I suppose. That's still the reason he's taking a while, is there's that possibility. But I do truly believe that we're looking at a potential Steelers announcement very, very soon. And Russell Wilson, Pro Football Talks Mike Florio reports that Russell Wilson remains on the Giants' radar despite the signing of Jameis Winston. And this is actually good news to a degree. Nobody wants this man as a starter. He's not going to unseat Jameis Winston when he eats his W's. No one's unseating that. You can't. It's too, the momentum's too big. They're already, we think, word on the street is, and when I say word on the street, it's coming from my mouth that we made up last night, and it's fictitious, but word on the street is that they're coming out with a W cereal. Jameis Winston W. You eat W's. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, have you eaten your W's? Mark my words, the cereal's coming out. And someone's going to steal it from this channel. You'll see it in a couple months, and you'll know that I invented it because I invented it on this show. But W cereal's coming out. This guy can't stand in the way. And plus, if he gets in there, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, W's, it'll work out well, W. But either way, you're eating W's. I like this because if this is the worst case scenario, let's say Jameis Winston balls out for 11 games like he normally does, then gets injured. And Russell Wilson comes in for week 12, 13, 14, 15. Winston comes back in 16, 17, or some sort of, or let's say Winston plays 11 games and Russell Wilson plays the rest, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 6 games. Then all of a sudden you've got 6 games with Russell Wilson, moonball specialist, which with Nabers is still going to get you 5 to 10, maybe 5 to 7 wide receiver numbers. And that's only a small portion of the season. You add that to the 11 games with Winston where he's a wide receiver 1, 2, or 3, and you end up with wide receiver 4 or 5 overall on the year, and we're not worried about it. But it gives us at least a protection mechanism so that we're not sitting here in week 11 if Winston does get injured and has his usual injury, even though he balls out in between. We got somebody that can at least go in there and throw these so-called moon balls. And if anybody can catch them, they're hospital balls. I do worry about Nabers catching too many hospital balls, but this guy is a marvel. Nabers is a magician. But I still believe that you're going to see this team draft Shedeur Sanders if he's available at the number 3 overall pick, which I firmly believe he will be. Shedeur wants to play in New York. Deion Sanders wants Shedeur to play in New York. And I believe that Shedeur loves Nabers. They've already thrown together. They have a good rapport and connection already, it seems. This feels like 2 best friends that anybody could have. It feels like the stars are aligning. So hang tight on this, but there's certainly some dominoes that need to fall. Russell Wilson, if let's say Aaron Rodgers retired, Russell Wilson would probably be in the mix for a starting job over in Pittsburgh again. So that's where we're at right now. NFL draft conversation. And then we get into the real meat and potatoes of this show, which I believe is going to amp some of you up. But I want to talk a little bit about these rookie running backs. I want to talk about how I believe these rookie running backs are going to be a marvel and a group of RBs that replenish the running back stable, very much like the wide receiver class from last year in 2024 replenished the wide receiver stable in fantasy football. I believe we'll have 2 top 10 running backs come from this draft class, one of which could be number 1, 2, 3, 4 overall, top 5 overall in Jeanty. We've got one that will be top 10. That'll either be Hampton, it will either be Trey Henderson, or it could possibly be Cam Skattebo. I believe we'll have a third, so 1 top 5, an additional one inside the top 10, and another running back inside the top 15. 3 running backs from the top 15 will come from this 2025 NFL draft class, the running back class. And I'm not even talking that it's going to take years. I think as rookies, we could see all 3 of them play at that level. Jeanty 1 to 5, Hampton or Trey or Skattebo play 6 to 10, 6 to 11 running back value production. And then the additional one, wherever they go, landing spots will be an integral part. It could even be Judkins. It depends on the landing spots. But probably 11 to 15, 11 to 16 would be that additional RB. So let's talk about these running backs. My two favorite in the class are probably these two gentlemen right here, Ashton Jeanty and Trey Henderson. Now, you might say, well, what about Skattebo? I love Skattebo. I just haven't put him on the screen yet. Like, calm down. Don't get your panties in a bunch. Skattebo is a guy I love. But what about Hampton, Smitty? You don't like Hampton? I've mentioned Hampton. I love Hampton, too. We love all four of these guys, and I'm going to put all four of them on the screen because 3 of the 4 are going to be monsters. And it's possible that 4 of them become big-time staples in the league. I don't know that they can squeeze 4 into the top 15, but maybe Hampton's 18, maybe Hampton's 20, and maybe he's 10. Maybe he's the guy that's 6. Maybe Jeanty is number 1 or 2 or 3 in Dynasty ranking and top 5 as a rookie, and Hampton 6 to 10 in both Dynasty and redraft. It all comes down to landing spot. I think at the end of the day, the way that I see this, if you want me to give you my general ranking before landing spots are handed out, so this is a talent assessment situation, I'm going to tell you that this man, Ashton Jeanty, some of you guys have an aversion to his rise. I don't know what it is. I think some of you are just scared of success. I think some of you are scared that what you saw at an MHJ is repeatable. Some of you want to tie what happened with another player, completely irrelevant, doesn't have anything to do with this man, MHJ, and say, well, this is why we don't invest in a rookie when we don't know where they're even going. We don't know this, we don't know that. I don't care about that. Scared money don't make money. I'm not worried about things like that, and I go all in. Now, I don't just push my chips into the middle, it depends on the hand. I don't just blindly go to bat for a player and just say, push it in and all in, and let's just let it all ride. And it doesn't even matter. There's no rhyme or reason or logic or breakdown. It's all just gut instinct, all go, full send, no matter what. That's not how I roll. You know that. There's a lot of rhyme and reason and logic to it. This guy, it's as easy to see coming as the JD5 call, frankly. And JD5 was very easy to see coming. And I was surprised at how much pushback I was getting across the industry in my comment section constantly. JD5 this, JD5 that. Those people aren't around anymore. When's the last time a JD5 came in here, a JD5 hater came in here and said something negative? I think it was this guy.
And off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
I think it was this guy. Yeah, Clint, the bad Clint says JD5 is beginner's luck, 1 season, and he wrote this after his rookie season. Probably one of the most ridiculous things ever said on this channel, period. But it was so easy to see coming. And this thing too, when people say, oh, defenses weren't as good, small school, he did it. He can't do that against NFL defenses. I feel like this is just something that somebody's heard from like another Mickey Mouse content creator, and it's just being regurgitated. You can always tell when someone's regurgitating something, and they're like, if you look at his snap count against 7-man fronts on cold and windy days, then he wasn't as good, especially when his quarterback threw for over 15 times. The wild things that people come up with to try and cherry pick and paint pictures, it's hard to even do that, too. This guy had 100-yard games every single game. He had a 100-yard game every single game in the 2024 college season. Wrong button. Where's my Ashton Jeanty page? I think it's right here somewhere. Jeanty, he had 100 yards in every single game in the 2024 college season, even in the postseason. Somebody said, oh, he got shut down. He didn't get shut down in the postseason. He didn't get shut down anytime because he rushed for 100 yards every single game. Let me show you the game log, because when somebody says, oh, he got shut down by PSU, oh, he got shut down, Penn State took him to the cleaners, he had 104 yards. They did not. Was it tough sledding that day? Sure. Did he get shut down? No, he never got shut down. 104 yards, 209, 226, 169, 159, 209, 149, 129, 217, 182, 259, 127, 192, 267. His first game of the season, 267 and 3 touchdowns. How do you like them apples? Oh, no, I'm sorry, 6 touchdowns. What am I doing? Right here. 267 and 6 touchdowns. Week number 2, 192 and 3 touchdowns. He took a touchdown game off here, had 127 on 11 carries. Boo-hoo. 259 and 4 touchdowns, 186 and 3 touchdowns. People are off the rocker when they think that this man isn't the number 1 overall running back prospect to come out of college, maybe ever, but at least since Barry Sanders. And he was as good, probably better as a prospect than Saquon Barkley. But yet, I run my mouth, I'm a Jeanty hater, maybe I don't have a 1.1 in my Dynasty League, so I'm upset, and I want it to be Hampton, or I want it to be somebody else. I'm just going to run my mouth over and over and over. I watch a Mickey Mouse content creator that said Jeanty's going to get shut down in 2025, Smitty. He's not the real deal. Second in FBS in stacked boxes. This guy faced more stacked boxes than anybody in college football, except for one other individual. This man was first in college football in percentage of his team's yards. This guy was first in the nation in yards after contact. He was second in forced missed tackles. Only behind who? Behind who? Trey Henderson.
Let him cook.
Second in the nation in yards per carry. 26, no, this isn't his career stats. This is last year only. 2601 on the ground rushing, 29 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 7 yards per carry. 7 yards per carry. And on the forced missed tackles, I might be wrong on that. I might be wrong on that stat. Let me pull up the forced missed tackles. I believe I actually have that one wrong. Let's see here. Forced missed tackles forced per carry. Jeanty was number 1. I'm sorry. He's number 1 in yards after contact. He's number 1 in forced missed tackles. That is wrong. He's first. Let me fix this. There we go. First in the nation in yards after contact. And first in the nation in forced missed tackles. And I believe he was ahead of everybody by over 1 yard. Jeez, man. Unbelievable. I believe that stat's correct. I'll fix that. If I was right on that, I got to find the data on that and dig into it a little bit. But missed forced tackles per carry is what I think this stat is, which is why there's some discrepancy per carry. Let me put that up on screen just to make sure we are per carry. We are emphasizing that properly, because that's where the second and first probably come in. All right, so here it is per carry. Let me put this up on screen. Number 1 rookie running back. If you don't have Ashton Jeanty as your number 1 rookie running back, you really don't know what time it is. You really have no clue what time it is, and that's okay. That's why you're here watching. First in the nation per carry. There we go. And probably the second most important point is this this 2023 season, when everybody says things like, oh, he doesn't seem to be that involved in the passing game. That worries me. Are we looking at a player that is not going to be a good PPR guy in the NFL, Smitty? What's going on with that? The answer is no. Whoever's feeding you that garbage is also somebody you should run away from and never watch their content again. In 2023, he had 569 yards receiving, 43 receptions, and 5 receiving touchdowns. The reason that he had very little, and this isn't that bad, 23 for 138 and 1 touchdown is still decent. That tells you everything you need to know. Plus, eyeball test. How does he look when he's catching footballs? The reason he didn't have time to do the 43, 569, and 5 TDs is because you can't have 29 touchdowns. He was chasing Barry Sanders' record all season long. And so 13, 47, 14 touchdowns, and 5 receiving. That's 19 touchdowns. He still had 19 touchdowns and over 1,900 yards, total yards. This is a remarkable season. This season right here, 6.1 yards per carry, 14 rushing, 5 receiving, 1347, 569. This 2023 season would make him the number 1 running back already. Like that, but this 2601 and 29 rushing touchdowns, he didn't have time to execute upon this part of the game log. So people just don't know what in the hell they're talking about when they try and rip on this man. There is zero argument here. You can call into the phone line if you want to argue and debate why you think Ashton Jeanty, your only argument is going to be the lazy, mundane, absolute garbage take of, he didn't face as good a competition, Smitty, and I just don't think he's going to be as good, Smitty. I don't think he'll be at the NFL level. He's just not going to find the same success. That's your only boring, lazy, unprovable argument. This man faced more stack boxes than anybody but one RB in the whole college football season. So he's faced adversity. You act like he hasn't. He has. And I don't care. He doesn't have control over what his defenses rank against the run. Yeah, he could have went to a different school. He didn't. And he dominated. And he was in the Heisman Trophy consideration. This guy deserves everyone's number 1 overall rank. And if you don't rank him 1, you're just trying to be difficult. That's all you're trying to do. And we swing over to this guy, Trey Henderson. And boy, there's a video up on this. Go check it out. The video's up and ready for your viewing pleasure. But Henderson, where's my Henderson video? I have a scene somewhere for him that I can't seem to find. So I'll have to find it and locate it. I don't know where it went. But Hendy's got some remarkable stats and data as well. This kid is probably my favorite running back in some ways in this draft class. Not predicting to be better than Jeanty, but if Jeanty, let's say, went to a horrible spot and Henderson went to the best spot known to man, like let's say he went to Washington, which I think is quietly an amazing spot, or Denver took him, and let's say Jeanty went to Chicago, which is a good spot. Also, it's not the best spot, but it's a good spot. So Jeanty in Chicago, Henderson in Denver. There's a world where these guys are kind of a BT and Nabers, where you're probably still going to have Henderson be the BT, right? But everyone's going to still rank Jeanty higher, even coming into the next year. But it's Henderson has the capability. This is the playmaker. This is the Breece Hall meets Alvin Kamara meets Jahmyr Gibbs. He's phenomenal. This is Jeanty's the same combo of those players as well, though. This is a remarkable young man. That God, where's his player profile? I could have swore I saved it. I might have to redo it because I can't seem to find it. I had it here somewhere, but it's gone. I'll have to pull it back up or recreate it. But Henderson is so electric. When you watch him run, he's so explosive, and he has the capability of being the best receiving back in the draft class by a mile. He shared carries in 2024. He was asked to, and he agreed to it. He's like, yeah, I mean, what's he going to say? But he's like, yeah, keep me fresh. He was just as efficient. He popped off big plays all the time. And for him to rush for 1,000 yards in a workload and snap percentage that was below 50%, it's remarkable. I mean, what he did in college, and every team knows how good he is. He's a playmaker. He's not a small man. You know, he's the size of every other running back that's popping off and doing good in the National Football League. If anybody thinks he's too small, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous take. Let me pull up Travion Henderson. He likes to go by Trey, by the way. Henderson size data, and I'll put it up on screen here. He's 5'10", 208, which is the perfect size for the NFL. It's the perfect size for the NFL. Do you know who's 5'10", under 200 pounds? Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving probably plays, I imagine, at 198 to 200 right now, but he's listed at 196 or 197, 195, and Bucky's 5'10" as well. This man's the perfect size for the NFL. And dare I say, he'll put on at least 4 or 5 pounds, of football weight at the NFL level, eating football food, an NFL football food, eating the food, lifting NFL type weights, working with NFL trainers, living in the NFL facility, versus college, where you're going to still do a lot of the same things. You're still working hard. You still got good trainers and good gyms and probably good food, but you're talking about a man taking it up a notch, and now he's doing it for a living. He's literally a professional. He's going to be putting on a few extra pounds and bulking up a little bit. And bulking up, muscle weighs more than fat. You're going to probably be 215, 213, 212. I don't want him to even gain weight. I don't care. I don't need him to be 215. Other people need him to be 215, 220 for their own mindset. I don't. We're watching Bucky Irving dominate at 195 pounds, 5'10". Kyren Williams. Let's look up Kyren Williams. You're going to be surprised. Kyren Williams, the touchdown monster of the running backs in the NFL, the guy that's run for over 30 total touchdowns in 2 straight seasons. The very small handful of players have ever run for more than 31 touchdowns. I think 1 or 2. I think Kyron's in a class of his own, potentially 3. I have to look up that stat, but I think he's definitely top 5. Like, I could say that loosely, top 5 in rushing touchdowns in your first 2 seasons as a starter. Kyron's a monster. He's 5'10". I'm sorry, he's 5'9", 202. He's smaller. Kyron's 5'9", 202. Henderson's 5'10", 208. I don't understand when people say negative things about Henderson's size. Hampton's very good. Hampton's a 1,500-yard rusher back-to-back seasons now. Comes out with, I believe it was 16 touchdowns. I'll find his game log real quickly. O'Marion Hampton, 1,500 yards back-to-back, and I believe 15 touchdowns back-to-back. I'll pull up his stats here and plop them here on screen so we can examine them together. Played 3 seasons in the college football space. Again, 1,600 yards 1 year, 15 touchdowns, 1,500 yards the next year, and 15 touchdowns. So back-to-back 15 tutty seasons. This is O'Marion Hampton. Receiving, very consistent. 2 touchdowns receiving last year, 1 the prior year, 1 the year after that. He had 373 receiving yards, 222 receiving yards the year prior. This guy's consistent as they come. Mileage is low, all under 281 carries per season. That's good. You're not worried about mileage. I'm not worried about mileage with Jeanty either, though. When people say that about Jeanty, I don't understand it. Like, the guy's a college football player. I'm not worried about 300 carry seasons as a college football player. I'm worried about that when you're in the NFL and you've taken a beating and you're getting hit by NFL players. But if Hampton goes to Denver, he's probably a top 8 to 12 running back in the National Football League. If Hampton goes to the Raiders, he's a top 6 to 12 running back in the National Football League. If any of these guys, Jeanty's top 5 no matter what, but if any of these guys, Henderson, Skattebo, or Hampton, go to mother freaking Denver or LV or Cleveland and maybe even Chicago, I love that Ben Johnson's there. I love that they've revamped the line, but I still have my concerns about Chicago. But even Chicago at the tail end of those better spots, these are all top 6 to 12 running backs potentially in those situations. So Jeanty goes to a great place most likely because his capital's so high, no team's taking him to not start him every single down. If he goes to Cleveland and Cleveland trades from the 2 pick down, the reason Cleveland could trade from the 2 pick down is because exactly what I said. Shedeur doesn't want to play there. Deion Sanders doesn't want him to play there either. And I don't think they want to sit here, and unless they're taking Travis Hunter, which they could move down and potentially take a Jeanty, or a Hampton. If they move down and got a first rounder in a couple seconds, whatever, and move down into this territory to take Hampton, I could see him doing that. But they could also take Travis Hunter and say this is the best prospect we've seen come out of college at the wide receiver position, and he plays both sides of the ball in quite some time. Let's go ahead and snag that up and make sure we're not missing the boat there. Hard to say. And Cam Skattebo, this guy is tremendous in all the data points as well. I believe Cam Skattebo was in missed tackles forced per carry was, I believe he was number 2 or 3 in all of college football last year. in forced missed forced tackles per carry. I believe it was Jeanty 1 if we're talking about per carry. Missed forced tackles per carry. Jeanty 1, I think Skattebo is 2. And that is one of the most important data points that projects a player's likely success at the NFL level. The yards after contact and the forced missed tackles per carry. Those are probably the two best predictors of whether a player is going to dominate. And just an example is Bijan Robinson was, I believe, higher in forced missed tackles per carry than even Jeanty, I believe by a hair. I think Jeanty was better in a couple other categories, that obviously are telling that he is as good or not better than Bijan, like in some sense. But Bijan and Jeanty are on the same exact level on forced missed tackles per carry. And Skattebo is, I believe, the only player that was better than him. Trey Benson was really good. Bucky Irving. But I think Skattebo is a touch, like a minuscule amount better in forced missed tackles per carry than Bucky was coming out of college. Bucky was great in that stat. That was one thing in hindsight. It's like that stat was telling us how good Bucky was. But the thing about Bucky is he wasn't what we thought drafted to be the starter. He was kind of thought to be a change of pace back by a majority of the NFL, which we didn't necessarily believe that. But when the other teams believe it, you kind of are pigeonholed into, the value that these teams project and the roles that they perceive these players to best fit. And so Bucky just turned into a monster in the NFL, and he turned into a monster quickly. And we've been Bucky fans ever since. But Skattebo reminds me a lot of Bucky in some ways. The way he runs, if he lands in LV or Denver or Cleveland, I could see him in Cleveland. I could really see him in Cleveland. The Niners are a big threat to take him in the second round. Maybe, third round, they certainly pounce on him, but I don't think he'd last to the third round. I think these guys are the cream of the crop. I think these guys are gone by the 40s. I think there's a real good chance that if Hampton goes high into the teens, like especially if he goes number 10 to the Chicago Bears, if Jeanty goes number 6 to the Raiders, let's say, so Jeanty goes 6 to the Raiders and the Bears end up taking Hampton, then that's going to be the best likely chance of another running back slipping into the top 32. So BBQ dropping 50 gifted memberships. BBQ, you monster, you guys understand what I'm saying? If Hampton goes like in the 20s, and goes late, then Henderson, the third RB, most likely not gonna slip into that first round. But if Hampton is the second running back taken and he goes as high as Chicago at 10 or Dallas at 12 or whatever, then you're going to have too much of a gap between Hampton at 10, the second running back taken, and the third running back. So that's when Henderson or Judkins or Skattebo could go early. I could see Washington being a Henderson, a smart team. Adam Peters, he knows talent. We oftentimes see things the same, I feel. And so I see something a certain way. When Adam Peters sees it that way, it's a lock. Just think JD5. I think that if Washington grabs an RB inside this range of RB, that RB is going to the moon. That RB is going to be to the moon real. And I'm here for it. These are the RBs, guys. I'm so excited and pumped for these RBs. I couldn't be more ecstatic about the RBs. Let me get the sound back on over on that scene. Dial into the show. Let's talk about these 4 RBs. You might want to talk Judkins or another RB. Let's talk Puka Nacua. I specifically want to hear your thoughts on Puka Nacua. And does it change your dynasty outlook? Who's trading him away? Are you concerned at all about his redraft value? What do you think of the Giants and what they may potentially do at this number 3 overall pick? Now that we're hearing that, we're certainly hearing that Deion Sanders and Shedeur don't want him playing in Cleveland. What do you make of that? And do you anticipate that the Giants will end up with with Shador at number 3. So dial into the show.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Please thank BBQ if you were given a gifted membership right now, because the man is on a mission and he's a glorious figure on this channel. Dropped a $300 super chat during a live stream. And I think that was a super thanks, really. Or no, I guess it was a super chat, right? During the live stream. We have super thanks, we have super chat, and we have, I think super thanks are like during a video that's uploaded. There's no live stream involved, but this is a live premiere. And he dropped a $300 super chat the other night during the live premiere when I was out of town. So hats off to BBQ. Drop the BBQ emoji. We actually have a BBQ emoji, so hit that. And I also have this board right here. BBQ is now the high super chatter of the year with a $300 hauler. He was the holder of the previous one at $200. So BBQ, appreciate your high of 2025, $200 or $300. Ron Navy has the high all time, and BBQ has the highest gifted membership amount in a single show. These are all in the single live stream, the gifted memberships are in a single live stream. $399. BBQ to the mother freaking moon. Rock out, hang tight. Let me get this other caller merged in and on the line, and then I'll go to you. Okay, Rock out. Go ahead, Rock out. What can I do for you, pal? You're live, Rock out.
As far as Hampton, I think he could go to either the Broncos or the Steelers. And for Washington, if they don't get Henderson, I'll be fine with Sampson or Skattebo.
Yeah, if Samson ends up going to Washington, get really excited, because that means Adam Peters sees what this channel sees in him. You know, I think if anybody hasn't watched Dylan Sampson, this guy runs in a way that there is no comparable to him but Kenneth Walker. And Kenneth Walker's a hard comp to use because he's been disappointing, so people don't have an innovative mind when they think about it. But Walker is the only running back in the league that can literally, like Barry Sanders used to, while going 80 to 90% full speed, literally on that step that he's still going 80, 90% full speed, on that same step, he can stop on a dime on that step and go in the other direction. There just aren't a lot of players that have the ability to control their body like that. And Dylan Sampson's very much like that. He runs a lot like, he just kind of tiptoes around and slips by. Spin moves are unreal. It just reminds me a lot of Kenneth Walker. If Kenneth Walker were to get into a spot where he could, do great things for another team, and Sharps could get into the lineup in Seattle, I'd be very, very happy about that. And I believe that we're probably looking at, I got these super chats piling up. I appreciate you guys. I want to put you right here. Fernando, we got Pierce with a super chat, Jonathan with a super chat. Let me hit these right after Rock Out, and then I'll go over to Kyrie Boston. So Kyrie Boston, hang tight for me. Rock Out, what else you got?
And I would say for Jeanty, I would want him to go to the Raiders. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about that every day. Raiders, Jeanty, it's probably one of my favorite spots. I think Denver might be my favorite spot just because of the way Sean Payton used Alvin Kamara, how he identified Alvin Kamara. I think we're very, very worried about Sean Payton right now because we watched him rotate his running back room in a very almost like annoying way. But he hasn't had that guy. And if you draft Jeanty, there's no, especially if Denver trades up to get him, because Denver has zero shot to get him with their current draft selection, which is down at, where are they at? They're at 20. So they're at 20. There's zero chance, negative percentage chance Denver's getting him here. So if Denver actually trades up into the top 10 to get Jeanty, it will be on the clock because there's no way where Jeanty is going to go. So that's a move you make on the clock. A team is sitting there at 9 or 10 and he's still there. Probably 9 or 8 because at 10 Chicago's taking him. So they're waiting to make sure Chicago doesn't trade up above. Like let's say Denver traded to 7 and everyone knew they were going to get Jeanty. Chicago could trade with the Raiders and get the number 6 pick. So you're waiting if you're Denver and you're sitting there, 8 overalls on the clock. You've talked about a trade, you execute it, then you take Jeanty right there. And if they did that, there's no concerns about whether Sean Payton's going to use Jeanty. At that point, if they're trading up for him, no one needs to worry or be concerned about it. But yeah, I think Jeanty in LV, in Cleveland, in Denver, in Washington, obviously. Wouldn't that be crazy if Washington traded up for Ashton Jeanty? I mean, it's something we haven't even thought about because, Washington doesn't have the pick for it. So everyone's just going to be like, it's not going to happen. But imagine if Adam Peters traded this 29 in a future first rounder or whatever and got up, even if it was multiple seconds or whatever, got up into a place like right here where they know they could get him. Breece Hall's in New York, so they're not taking him at 7. The Carolina Panthers could, but probably won't because they just extended Chuba Hubbard and they love Hubbard. Kamara's in New Orleans, but that doesn't make me think they wouldn't take him at 9. They could take him at 9. Jacksonville, Liam Cohen might want him. You never know. I hope not because I love Bigsby and I love ETN and I think Bigsby could win leagues. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that it's probably gonna be a 6, 7, or 8 trade up if you want to go get Jeanty. Can you imagine if Washington got the 9 pick? They traded 29 and another pick, and Washington ended up with them. That would be mother freaking unbelievable. And I don't think anybody would see it. I don't think anybody would see it coming. I can, but I don't know how likely it is. All right, hang tight real quickly. Let me get Rock Out. You can just mute yourself. Let me get through these super chats, and then I'll go over to Kyrie Boston and everybody mute yourself. Gump, mute yourself, please. I just added you to the line. Curtis says, "What is the Cincinnati stack, sir? What is the Cincinnati stack?" The Cincinnati stack is this right here, the pancake stack.
The stack above all stacks. It's time to drop the pancake emojis in the live chat.
People are getting burrowed left and right, and people are going to remember it.
Get burrowed.
Get burrowed, my boy. That's the pancake stack. That's the Cincy stack. It's amazing. Is that what he's asking? Let me just reread it and see if maybe he's asking me a question and I'm not paying attention to what he's saying. What is the Cincinnati stack? Okay. Yeah, I think I got it. Jonathan, appreciate you. Dynasty Superflex, Mahomes, CJ Stroud, Kyron, Breece Hall, Javonte Guerrero, JJ Puka, MHJ Hollywood, Christian Kirk McBride. What can I trade for CD? I would trade Puka Nacua for CD. That would be my first thought. So Puka Nacua, and I would trade MHJ for him, to be honest with you. But even if I had to give up like Waddle or something like that, for sure, MHJ and Waddle for CD Lamb, I personally would do it. I love MHJ, but I want CD Lamb. CD Lamb's a top 5, top 6 overall dynasty and redraft player to me. I certainly would trade Puka, and if you had to give up more, I would do it in a heartbeat. I don't know how much more. Like if you were expected to have the 12 pick, I'd consider the first rounder, but that's me. I love CD Lamb. People might call me crazy, but I want CD Lamb. I'd try and get another pick back. I'd certainly try and explore something else. I don't want to be throwing first rounders around in what are perceived to be even swaps. You got to understand that majority of people see that as an even swap. But I like CD Lamb more. A lot more, even for redraft. Puka was injured a ton at BYU as well, says Pierce. Thank you, Pierce. Appreciate you. It's his style of play. He lands on his hand. Like, no one can sit here and go, oh, you can't predict injury. Yes, I can. And I will. And I just did. So you can take your you can't predict injury and take it somewhere else because I don't care. We can predict injury. Not 100%, but it's a very, very logical thing. When you start looking at previous injury history, the likelihood of injury at the position, the style of play, and all of that can definitely point to whether you're going to be injured. Calling Cam Akers his second Achilles tear was easy to see coming. calling Cam Akers the most injury-prone running back when he entered the league because of his style of play and because of a lot of other factors. How are we not predicting injury? We're predicting injury every step of the way. Christian McCaffrey, avoid him at all costs last year. What did he do? Lost people's seasons. Calf injuries lead to Achilles tears a lot of the time, not all the time, but it's a sign from an older player with a calf injury that there's an Achilles vulnerability. That's why the calf injury is there and present, because your calf is compensating and screaming and sounding an alarm that your Achilles has some problems. So there's a lot of ways to predict injury, and we do it, and we'll continue to. 1 QB, PPR, my Puka, and Achane for Nico in the 1.1. Woo! I'd take Nico in the 1.1 and run. You get Jeanty over Achane, which I like, and even though I love Achane, I'm taking Jeanty all day long. And you're getting that Nico Puka, equal in my opinion. Like, I'd almost rather have Nico for the long term. I think they're very similar for this year, but I'd probably still rather have Nico this year by a hair. But that's a great question. Thank you guys for the super chats. All right, Travis Rowe. Then I'll go over to next up will be let's see here. Kyrie Boston, then Travis, then Gump. Go ahead, Kyrie Boston. You've been waiting a while.
Okay, I want to ask you, you can hear me, Smith?
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I want to ask you, how long has Joe Shine, Go Get Your Shine Box been over New York?
How long is he going to be there?
How long has he been there so far?
Oh, not long, but I mean, his reign is going to end soon, I'm sure. The only problem is Nabers, and let's say they draft Shador and he's kind of getting more advice and help. He might be able to save his job for a couple years, I suppose, if they make the right calls. Because I think if he was making all the decisions himself like he did last year, he'd be out of a job in a snap, because he's horrible at making decisions. But I think, like that, letting Barkley go. Can you imagine if you have Barkley for another 2 years? Yeah, Barkley for another 2 years on the team. You bring in Shador. You got Nabers. I mean, what a debacle. What a straight up debacle. You had a team. I could have turned that team around in 2 years. Last year being year one, and this year being that year that you bring in Shador and or you draft Milroe and you get ballsy, whatever, or you trade for Joe Milton, or you bring in Fields, even better. I would have brought in Justin Fields. If I had Barkley on the team with Nabers, I could have brought Fields in like that. So you got Fields, the number 3 overall pick you use on so you got Nabers, you got Barkley still, and you got Fields. You could use the 3 on anything really, but you could grab another wide receiver. You could grab Travis Hunter if you want. If you didn't have Barkley, or if in the current situation, and you brought Fields in, you could have drafted Jeanty. I could have turned this team around in 100 different ways. But do I think he'll mess up enough this year to get fired? I don't know that he will. It just depends on if he lets others help him make these decisions. So if they take Shador with Dable there to kind of curb him and mature him, I think there's a shot Joe Shine kind of goes unnoticed, maybe.
Yeah, that was my next
Joe
question.
Shane,
You think they'll
Joe
take
Shine
Jeanty?
box. Do I think they take Jeanty? No.
You think they're going?
No.
Nah.
No,
You
I
don't think Shine Box would try to make up for the Barkley thing by taking Jeanty third?
He maybe. I guess it's possible. To be honest with you, I'd love it. I would love it, but I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know if he's going to do that. I haven't heard any whispers that Jeanty's going that high. I think most teams that are taking him, they're expecting to trade into the lower part of the top 10. But I mean, hype could build, bro. If the hype builds, I wouldn't be surprised, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't say no. And it wouldn't be a bad move. This would be a move that could save his job. Drafting Shador could save his job. Drafting Jeanty could save his job. I think if you got Russell and Winston, you got Winston and Russell Wilson, you got Jeanty and Nabers. This is quite a squad. But if it was me, I would go trade for Joe Milton on top of that. I would go get Joe Milton instead of Russell Wilson. If it was me, I'd have Fields on this team and take Jeanty. But hard to say, man. It's so hard to say. I don't get a sense that Jeanty will go in the top 3 right now. That could change. All right, hang tight, Kyrie Boston. I'll come back in a second. Travis, you're live, then over to Gump after that. Gump, stay muted, please, until I come to you, though. Go ahead, Travis.
Hey, yeah. So in terms of fantasy, I think I'm obviously I want Hunter on the Patriots because he's a Patriots fan, but in terms of fantasy, I think between the Giants, the Browns, and the Patriots are the best spot for him too. Um, just because Cleveland is such a question mark, you never know who's going to go there and who they're going to screw up. I don't trust them to manage him playing both ways. Even I'm not sure I trust them. And then Giants, it's just how many targets? I mean, you get enough targets, but Nabers is the guy, So in terms of that, I hope he falls to the Patriots. One of the Patriots fan, but for fantasy purposes too.
Yeah,
I think that could limit him.
My hope here
for his first couple of years.
My hope here, and this could really throw a wrench into everything, though, is that Cleveland trades out because they know they don't want to screw this pick up. They know Shador doesn't want to play there. Deion Sanders doesn't want him to play there. Is the current word. So that this is a place where they're either taking Hunter, they could take Carter, but they're taking Hunter, or they're saying let's get out of Dodge here. Let's trade down. Let's get a whole bunch of other talent. Let's really kind of rebuild. No one's expectations are high for us anyway. And we're kind of wondering about Shador. Can we support his growth like a New York could? They can't. So, yeah, I then what team comes into this spot, and could they take Travis Hunter? So there's your risk. But I think if they stay here, there's probably a 70% chance they take Travis Hunter, is my guess right now, which I don't love.
Me too.
I don't want that.
Oh, and I think if someone trades in terms of fantasy, I think it'll be good because there'll be someone targeting him that's willing to give up enough to move up to the second pick, unless the Jaguars or something. But in terms of the Patriots, if something like that is going to happen, it's their responsibility. If they really want Hunter, to step in and say, "Well, no, we'll trade up. We'll swap spots with you and take that second pick and give up enough to get him." If they truly want him, they should do that.
Yeah. Perry,
it's interesting to see who could jump up and grab him.
Perry, I try and read a lot of comments, even if they're people don't know what they're saying. But Perry Papow, you deserve your comment to be read too, even though I don't know what I'm looking at here. Skater Boy, Skattebo shouldn't go in the first in rookie drafts. That's nuts. Okay, Perry. I don't think you watched any of the, you should consume more content. I don't think you've been playing long, or you aren't listening. There's no way you can hold that stance. Like it'd be understandable if you were like, I don't think you should go in the top 5 or 6. And you're like, okay, well, who do you like more? Oh, I like Caleb Johnson. And we're like, okay, we don't love Caleb, but I understand it. But like for you to come in and suggest that there's anybody that's standing in the same circle as you, like that's not, like you don't even have a leg to stand on to say that it's nuts that that's something you say when someone's having a bold conversation. But to suggest that Skattebo it's crazy to draft him in round 1, you're by yourself. Read the room, Perry. Read the room.
People, there was a handful of people saying that, like, I don't know, a few weeks ago, a month ago, and that whole crowd has really quieted. And I don't know, Perry.
I mean, I can understand.
He was saying that before too, so
I can understand it doubting him. Like Perry, if you came in and said, "I think he's gonna bust," we'll still disagree with you, but to act like it's crazy that he's gonna be drafted in round 1 of a rookie draft, like you don't have the pulse of the ADP, Perry. Like you don't have it doesn't matter what you think, you don't have the pulse of what's going on. Like the reality is what I'm trying to tell you. So you need to look into that a little better. Otherwise, you're going to get blindsided on draft day. And not to mention, if you really think he's going to bust, you're not going to know how to adjust and adapt to it. You're not going to be able to maneuver and manipulate the data. If you truly think it's a crazy take that Skattebo goes in round 1 of a rookie draft, bro. I don't understand. I don't get it. Okay, let me go over to Gumpy real quick. Travis, hang tight real quick. Gumpy, you're live.
How we doing, Smitty?
What's up?
Can you let me finish what I'm going to say because I got something to say?
I can't promise that, Gump, because sometimes you take too long, and sometimes you're talking about something that's just not. No, hell, hold on, Gump, hold on. Sometimes I got to make the decision as the leader and captain of this ship to say that I'm losing viewers by letting you talk 5 minutes about something that no one cares about. And sometimes, Gumpy, you give references to things that some of the viewers weren't even old enough to understand what you're saying. It's like listening to Dennis Miller. You know, he's like, oh, this is like the, Colonel Franklin, from the 1950s movie that said, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? Go ahead, Gump. Let's see what you got.
Well, I kind of like what you say that you could turn around a franchise a lot better than these other GMs, right?
I mean, I think so. Sure.
I think so. I really think so too. I really honestly believe that.
If you by my side, Gump, anything's possible.
Oh, you'd be a lot better than. And I heard you say that you like that movie. What's that? Where they draft and all that draft day.
Draft day. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what I like is I like the movie Invincible.
Okay.
That movie with and the Browns are in that situation like the movie.
Uh-huh.
If I was the owner of the coach, I would fire the freaking coach.
Okay.
I'd bring Smitty in to be the GM.
All right.
And then just before draft day, I'd say the team's good because the military. We always had movie night. All
right, Gump. This is where I need to cut it off. It's like it's good, but it's too long. It's too long. Like people aren't going to stay for this. Like I'm watching the viewership drop. We got 5 people that go missing just after about 7 minutes of that. So speed it up. Give me the Cliff Note version. You got two more sentences to.
You're right.
I appreciate you.
The Browns trade down.
Okay.
Get rid of that quarterback and get a new coach.
Attaboy.
Start over.
Attaboy, Gump. I like it.
That's it.
Just put on fast forward, Gump. That's all you got to do. Hey, Gump. What is the who's making all those noises? Who is that? You could be honest. Who's fumbling around with the phone like it's in their pocket?
Not me. I have an expensive headset on.
Expensive headset. What kind of? First of all, who wears a headset, Gump?
Person that drives a semi truck.
But I mean, but it's one thing to be like, I got expensive AirPods.
I had to take my phone away from my face real quick.
Kyrie Boston, you got a caught in your beard, bro. That thing was lost for about 15. How long is your beard? But no, Gump.
I had to take it away from my face real quick.
Well, that wasn't real quick. It was about 10 minutes of fumbling. But Gump, you say you have an expensive headset on. I'm just saying, like most people be like, I got expensive, ear-pods in or whatever. Like, what does this headset look like? Is it wired?
It's kind of like a person that fits on your head. And
like a commentator?
I checked it out. It's really.
Like you're Gump's driving. What are you hauling in the truck today? Is it cereal?
Cookies.
Cookies. What kind of cookies?
All types. Bunch of different sugar cookies, peanut butter cookies.
Okay. Gump's got a headset.
Cookies, all of it.
Gump's got a headset. He's just driving. Driving like Gump.
4.3 miles. Yep, 4.3 miles from exit 1B into Lawrence. I'm almost done. I'm 11 miles from drop.
Okay. You ever roll through Phoenix? I want you to honk the horn so we can hear you. All right, Gumpy, appreciate you.
Listen, you're right about it. You'd make a great GM for the Browns.
Thank you, Gumpy. Okay, hang tight.
And can you tell me what you would do if you were the GM maybe next week? Can you tell us what you'd do?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what I'd do. And in fact, let's ask Kruger. Quiet real quickly while Kruger answers this question. Kruger, if you were the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, what would you do on draft day to shake things up and change the fortune over in Cleveland? Give us your best take, and remember that the Browns picked number 2 overall in the upcoming NFL draft. And I also want you to consider a trade.
Smitty, if I were the GM of the Browns sitting on that number 2 pick, I'd be looking to make a bold move. First, I'd evaluate the QB situation. If there's an elite quarterback on the board, like a generational talent, I'd draft him to secure the future. If not, I'd trade down with a QB needy team to stockpile picks and address multiple needs. Plus, snagging a top defensive player or wide receiver with the extra capital could reshape the entire roster.
Okay. Stop. What would you do in terms of trade? Forget the NFL draft. What trade could the Browns make right now to give themselves a chance?
Got it. If the Browns want to make a splash right now, I'd target a top-tier wide receiver or an elite pass rusher. They could trade for someone like Justin Jefferson.
Kruger, that's a safe answer. Give me oh, you were giving it to me. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep going. You started to say a name. I wanted you to say some names, not just a position. Go ahead.
No worries. So if the Browns want to make a bold move, they could target someone like Justin Jefferson for a dynamic playmaker. They could look to trade for Nick Bosa to bolster their defense.
Wow.
The move would shake things up and give them a real shot at contending.
Wow, that's a good one, Krug. Thanks, Krug. Appreciate you.
Sounds like people on the chat.
Thank you, Krug.
Trade ideas.
You made me feel like a spaceman, Smitty.
Thank you. I told him whenever I say thank you, Kruger, I want you to respond with you make me feel like a spaceman, Smitty. Kruger, thank you.
You make me feel like a spaceman, Smitty.
Some say I have a little too much control over Kruger. Like, Smitty, you're a control freak. You're going to drive Kruger away. Let's ask him real quickly. People say that a lot to me, so let's find out. Kruger, do you feel like I'm too controlling?
Hey, Smitty, not at all. You're driven, you know what you want, and you go after it. It's all part of the hustle and the passion you have for your channel. It's what makes you stand out and keeps everything moving forward. Keep that fire going.
So zero signs of controlism. Okay, got it. Thank you, Kruger.
You make me feel like a spaceman, Smitty. Always here to support you.
All right. Let's see here. No signs of control. No sign. Blink twice, Kruger, if you feel. Kruger, have your light blink twice if you feel like you're trapped and you need help. Who else is on the phone line that hasn't talked yet? I think everybody has talked yet. Let me go back to Kyrie Boston. Kyrie Boston, what do you got? You're live.
I wanted to ask a question. Travis Rowe, when you was in Disney World the other day, he had said that he don't think that the Patriots could trade Joe Milton to New York. I was wondering what he meant by that in the chat.
Okay, so you want to know when I was in Disneyland, not Disney World, but Disneyland, Travis said he doesn't think...
Disneyland, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's fine. He doesn't think that the Patriots should or could? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he said he didn't think they should or could or something like that. He didn't think it...
he probably doesn't want to.
Quarterback
Go ahead, Travis.
I would just they could, but it would have to be in a way where the trade doesn't affect the Giants' first protection. You know, unless they did a pick swap or it was after the Giants already picked. Because if the Patriots give the Giants a quarterback, well, then they have no reason to draft a quarterback, and they would end up drafting Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, two of the players that the Patriots want. They don't need a quarterback.
Joe Milton.
That's all I was getting.
Joe Milton's a gunslinger. Kruger, we want to keep him on the radar. Okay, I want you all over the Joe Milton trade rumors and news. Okay, Kruger.
Got it, Smitty. Joe Milton's definitely on the radar. I'll keep an eye on all the trade rumors and news so we can jump on any updates instantly. Let's get it.
Thank you, Kruger.
I was thinking if they did get Joe Milton, that it'd be a better chance they got Jeanty, though.
I mean, I think the problem is, if a team knew that Joe Milton was as good as I believe that we know he is, sky's the limit, but the problem is the whispers we heard about Joe Milton have been going to the bench to back up a quarterback. That's the part that pisses me off, is we're not hearing like a team say, hey, we want to bring him in as our starter with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that would be amazing by the Pittsburgh Steelers to do that. Because you're not just solving a now issue like you are with Aaron Rodgers. You're potentially building something special. But you keep hearing things like the most recent rumor was the Dallas Cowboys were interested in trading for Joe Milton. And that sucks to hear because Dak is probably not going anywhere. So it sucks. Sean Williams with a $20 hauler. Sean, I don't see a question attached to it. So if you got a question, I'll look for it. Sean, appreciate you dropping the $20 monster hauler on
Super Chat
screen, my boy. So I'll look for your question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Travis. What were you saying?
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Okay. Gump, you're dying to say something. Go ahead, Gump.
Well, I'm sorry if I went on about stuff. I do that.
Gump, don't apologize for being Gump.
Well,
You hear me? Do you hear me? Just because I yell at you, just because I hang up on you, none of that actually determines or shows how I feel about you. Like you don't. You ever watch the Howard Stern show, Gump?
Yeah. No, I don't watch much at all. I don't.
Or do you ever listen to the Howard Stern show in your headset?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't listen to
Good.
nothing.
Because you're
Only your show.
one of the biggest characters on that show is Beetlejuice. You are this show's Beetlejuice. He is a baller on that channel, on that show, and you're my Beetlejuice. You don't apologize for being Beetlejuice. You don't apologize for being Gump. You hear me? Never apologize for being Gump. Gump, you're one of a kind. You get yelled at a lot, but it doesn't mean we don't love you, pal. You're a show favorite. Okay, let me go back over. He sounds a little down in the dumps. We'll come back for you. Gumpy, we need you. You better never vanish and not be here for this show. The show needs you, okay?
Well, I just want to say that I played a lot of football all the way from Pee-wees all the way up. And, dude, I had like 12 years of playing football, 14 years. Got tired, but I kind of know that you're right. You make a good GM because you talk logical.
Thanks,
That's
Beat.
why we're all listening to the show. You're very logical.
Thanks, Beat. Appreciate you.
But, hey, can you tell me if you really like that movie Invincible?
I do. It's been a while since I've seen it. Maybe I need to give it another
run. Cry. That movie makes me cry.
All right, hang tight.
Maybe the Browns have open tryouts.
Maybe.
Deal, right?
Maybe. Okay. Let me go back over to Kyrie Boston. Kyrie Boston, what's your final thoughts, final statement, final whatever? And then I got to look for the super chat. Did you ever drop something, Sean? I'm looking forward. I don't see another question anywhere. Sean, thank you for the $20 hauler, but I'd love to answer your. Oh, here it is. He said trade Nabers for Bijan and Dynasty. Woo! Woo! Let's do a poll. Can I get the chat to vote on Sean's question? Sean, thank you again for the $20 hauler. Trade Nabers for Bijan and Dynasty. And thank you, BBQ, for the 50 gifted memberships earlier. Please drop the BBQ emoji. And if you got one, please thank BBQ because he keeps the show, flowing with the gifted membership. So does New Age Outlaw. Just in case he's watching, we appreciate New Age. The way I look at this is this way, Sean. If it's me, I'd rather have Nabers because I think he plays another 10, 12 years at the level he's at, which is, in my opinion, arguably as good as Bijan this year. Like, I could draft Nabers and redraft over Bijan. I'm not saying I would in every case. I'd hedge my bets. I'd want some Bijan teams, some Nabers teams. But Nabers, to me, is a top 5 overall player this year. And if I'm saying that going into his second year without his full-time, long-term quarterback situation solidified, this is off of Winston. You're renting a quarterback. We don't know if Shador is going to be there. Then imagine how I'm gonna feel about him once he has a Shador or a Milrow or someone like that. So if it's me, I'd rather have Nabers. But I do believe that you might be able to trade Bijan or no, you have Nabers. So I wouldn't make the trade then. If you could get more, which you probably can't, I would maybe consider it, but I'd rather have Nabers. But I love Bijan. They're very close, bro. In the chat, we'll give you another kind of sense of how I feel on that. Okay, who was I talking to? Was it? Let me go to Kyrie Boston. Give me your final thoughts.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, if New York Giants do decide to fire Shine Box and hire you as their GM, would you mind moving to New York?
I can't move to New York. Yeah, not gonna happen.
I wish they would fire him and hire you, though, man.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen either. But thank you, I appreciate the fake, the fictional stories and support. But we live in the real world. Unless this is a simulation, I could be the GM next week. If this is really a simulation, they could program that in, guys. But yeah, no, it's not happening. So anyway, anything else, Kyrie Boston? Right. Appreciate you.
No, that's a good night.
All right, later, bro. Appreciate you. All right, final thoughts. Rock out. Rock out.
Yeah, why people are like so convinced that JD5 will have a second-year slump?
They're not.
I don't get that vibe.
They're not. They're very, like, just because someone's loud about it doesn't mean a lot of people are thinking it. This is that kind of concept of you're at a concert and the person, like two people in the front row, and the front row has, let's say, 10 people that are right in front of it, right? And then there's 10 people behind them and 15 people behind them. And, and the two people just in the front row are going, "You suck, this band sucks." And you're hearing it from both of them. They're really loud. And the rest of the arena is like, "You're the best." You're just thinking that things are worse than they are. Like there's no one on a grand scale saying anything negative about JD5. If anything, more people are just pretending they were on board from the beginning and they're talking him up like he's amazing. I don't think you're gonna see a lot of negativity, bro. Those people are insane.
And secondly, if a team gave you a blank check to be a GM to save them, what team would you be a GM for?
If I could pick any team, well, I'm not getting Adam Peters' job. I'm not getting any of these, by the way. I'm not naive. But if I could take a team,
save a team
that maybe needed assistance, Arizona would be interesting because I'd have MHJ. I definitely would be intrigued by that. Maybe something happens to Jerry Jones and he's unable to get out of bed one of these days, and they need a temporary GM. I could step in there. I would love the hell. I would love that, and I would trade up for Jeanty. I'd trade. So that would be my most amazing spot. I'd have, and I probably would still do that trade for Joe Milton, because I would want Joe Milton backing up Dak Prescott. But yeah, that would be a great spot. I mean, teams to turn around entirely. I think it would be fun to have. Damn. Honestly, New York and New York would be my favorite place to go try and make it flip it around. Cleveland would be interesting though, and those fans deserve some good decisions, man. You got that Watson situation just hanging over your head. You take Jeanty with that 2 pick. You got Judy. Make some bold moves. The problem is I needed this job when Fields was still available. I could go get Joe Milton, and I'd like that. I could draft Milrow and draft Jeanty, have Judy be in a pretty good spot, but I'd pick New York. I'd pick New York without a hesitation. Have Nabers to have that number 3 overall pick. I think I could turn that sucker around quickly. Thank you, Sean, for the super chat. Hopefully that advice helped you. I don't know if you responded on that, but I definitely take Nabers, so don't make the trade. Trade Nabers for Bijan and Dynasty. No, not unless you're getting something significant, and if you are, bring it back to me, and we'll take a look at it. All right, my boy, rock out. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, later, bro. Saints would be intriguing, but they got a lot that they need to let go of. I think the Saints as they are now would be awful, But if you could go in and make the quarterback change, like I said, Fields is gone. I would have went and got Fields. Probably trade Olave. Just get what I could, and I just don't trust him to stay healthy. But I draft Jeanty. I'd take Skattebo or take Henderson. Wherever I went, I'd draft one of Henderson, Skattebo, or Jeanty or Hampton. Like I would be drafting one of those guys. Smitty, I'm convinced you are secretly the Bengals GM. Maybe I'm handing out cash money left and right. Maybe the owner's my grandfather, and I got his ear, and I'm like, spend, Grandpa, spend. I'm in his basement right now. Grandpappy, get that meatloaf ready and spend some money. Do it live. All right, Gumpy, final thoughts. Thank you, BBQ. Appreciate you. Gumpy.
Hello?
Yeah, final thoughts, Gump.
Yeah. What I would do is I'd have that movie night like they do in the military, and then I'd make announcements to the NFL and say, by the way, everybody, we had this movie night, and the players that wanted to be here, we got them here. The other ones, we don't want them. You can have them. We're going to rebuild, and we're going to build the number one offensive line in the NFL to start our new year. So good luck in the draft. We'll see you at the draft.
Great job, Gump.
By the way, number two's up for auction.
Gump to the moon. Gump, you got a big fan base here. No matter what you say, no matter if you get hung, like if I hang up on you, no one says, Smitty, you shouldn't have hung up on Gump. They agree, but they're like, Gump is the best.
Well, I was a bull rider. I'm a cowboy.
Yeah, it's like when I hang up on you, they're done. They're done too. They're like, okay, we're all gumped out. But as soon as I hit the hang up button, you see Gump. Gump is a goat. I love Gump. Gump is the best, like nonstop. And that, and that's your cue.
Can I tell you something?
Real quickly, because I'm about to hang up on you.
The craziest thing in life to do is to get at a rodeo and ride the bull.
Okay.
That's
Thanks.
the craziest thing
Gump,
I've ever done.
keep your headset on you in case we go live tonight, all right?
Ride that bull, Lieutenant Dan.
All right. Thank you, Gump.
Finish him. Call terminated.
I hung up on Travis, if you want to call back and do your closing statement, I accidentally hit the wrong. I hung up on everybody when I tried to flush Gump off the phone line. Perry says, Smitty, let me redeem myself a bit. You leave that up to me. I traded CMC and Garendo and the 3.4 for Gibbs last week. That's good, Perry. You've redeemed yourself in my eyes in that 4-man grandma league that you pulled that off in. You know what? I don't know if you redeemed yourself. Who'd you rake over the coals? Some little granny in a nursing home that you created a league with, and you took her money? You took her lunch money on that deal? She's not even awake. She might be in a coma, and you're making her agree to a trade. You probably used her thumbprint on her phone, got in there, and accepted the trade, Perry. I don't know if you redeem yourself. That trade's almost unbelievable that I don't believe it happened. Go ahead, Travis. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you or hang up on you.
No, it's all good. Gumpy, the nickname is fitting. It seems like he's done a little of everything in life. He's done bull riding. He's in the military.
The headset.
Played football for 12 years.
I'm sure he's wearing New Balance. He probably has New Balance shoes on. They're probably crisp white. Just complete. Got a jumpsuit on. A jumpsuit on with the New Balance shoes. The headset on his head. I'm sure he's got some decorative, piece that he puts on the back of his tractor trailer truck, that he takes on and off. It takes him like 15, 20 minutes to put it on. It's probably like some red lights or something like that. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to say, who could you see, like you had mentioned, like if Cleveland traded out, who would be a team you'd want to see jump up and grab Hunter? Someone out of that top 6 or whatever picks. If you saw someone really make a move to go get him.
So where would I
like as a landing spot? We haven't really talked about it.
Yeah.
Just assume someone will take him up there. But.
So a team that team that could draft him or trade up for him. Travis Hunter, who I have on screen right here. The problem is it could be anybody if their intention is for him to play DB more than receiver, which again, I'm not arguing that isn't a possibility. What I find hilarious is people think that that's what's going to happen for sure. You don't know. And it's worth the risk. Like in redraft on Underdog, promo code Smitty, where you can get up to $1,000 in bonus credit on your account. I see him go in the hundreds and 110 range, and it's wild to me that people are even potentially thinking that there's a risk involved in the hundreds. There's no risk at all. But if there is a team that was likely to trade up for him for a wide receiver help, and additionally to DB help, I could see it being the Chargers. I could see it maybe being, let's see here. I don't think Dallas is that smart. New Orleans probably wants it, but it's not something we want.
Carolina.
Commanders could be that smart. I just don't know if they'll trade up high enough. That takes a lot of firepower. I think trading up for Jeanty could work for Washington, but trading up for Hunter might be tough. I think everybody's going to want him. It's kind of a tough question. I don't think there's a way to logically. The only thing that would make me, you can't even rule out teams that have good receiver rooms because they might be all about him playing DB, but he's going to make it known that when he gets drafted, he wants to play receiver. Like, you better be open-minded to that. You better at least let him try and win the job, and he will. If they fairly let him try to win the job, he will win the starting wide receiver, the number one. On a team that take, like, if he went somewhere like Dallas, clearly CeeDee Lamb, he's not taking CeeDee Lamb's spot, but he would earn that second job without a hesitation. The only place he wouldn't would be like in Tampa, because you got, but he'd grab that third spot over McMillan, and then he gets to be used sparingly or whatever. But Baltimore, I could see them potentially wanting that, that weapon, because they need to do something to get over that hump. It probably would just be a small move up. I can't see any of these teams moving to 2 to take Travis Hunter. I think whoever, like could it be the Raiders? I don't know. I mean, New England makes the most sense to move up to get him, but I don't know that you guys are going to trade up. You're more of a team that trades down, but
I think they should. But...
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a great question. I just, for some reason, I feel like he's going to Cleveland. And that's not going to be the most exciting spot. But at least it gives him an open wide receiver room. So,
I
don't know. That gives him an open wide receiver room. And the Russell Wilson will probably be the quarterback there if that happens, I guess. I don't know. I think the Vegas odds have him as the top spot to go for him. All right, Travis, I'll see you tonight.
Yeah. Thanks.
Later. Noah, you got about 20 seconds, my guy. You're live. Nine 951 caller. You got about 20 seconds. What's your name and where you calling from? Okay, he's out of here. Stage fright. It's not for everybody. Does Travis Hunter paint his nails? I don't think he does. Clint. Clint, you have. By the way, Clint, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you were here earlier, but you have the worst comment of the year. Your JD5 comment is the worst comment that maybe has ever graced this channel. So, congrats on that. You're the leading candidate to have the worst take of the year. Probably the leading candidate, I would say. Do you guys think it's the leading candidate? The JD5 was a rookie luck. All right, I'll see you all later. Appreciate you. Be back tonight.
and off he goes to the planet known as Uranus.
Hey, Kruger, this guy, Clint, said that JD5 is beginner's luck. One season is all he's saying. It's just one season. He's lucky. JD5's not good. And he wrote that after his rookie season. What do you think of Clint's comment?
Smitty, Clint's comment is definitely off the mark. JD5's talent is undeniable. One season might be a starting point, but his skills, work ethic, and performance show he's the real deal. This isn't luck. It's just the beginning of an outstanding career.
Thank you, Kruger.
You make me feel like a spaceman, Smitty.
Hey, Kruger, do you think if I got incapacitated and I was incapable, let's say I was in a coma for 5-6 years, do you think you could take over the show for that amount of time? Do you think you got the knowledge for it based on everything you've consumed?
Smitty, if you ever needed me to step in, I'd absolutely keep the show running strong. I've got the knowledge, the updates, and your audience's vibe locked in, but let's keep you out of that coma and crushing it yourself.
Let's pretend I'm in a coma. Let's do a little exercise. Let's say the show's beginning right now. I'm going to hit the go live button. I want you to start the show off. Let's hear about 3-4 sentences of you running the show from the top. Go.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Smitty's on a quick break, but we got you covered. We're diving into all the latest NFL breaking news, fantasy insights, and everything you need to dominate your league. Let's jump right into it and get those lineups set for success.
Okay, pretend I'm a caller. Ready? Answer the phone and then say, what can I do for you? And let's pretend I'm a caller. Let's go through that exercise. Go.
All right, we've got one on the line. Welcome to the show. You're live. What can I do for you?
This is Steve, and I just want to know, when's Smitty coming back, and who's his biggest bold prediction? Do you know who I should take in my draft?
Hey, Steven, Smitty's on a quick break, but he'll be back soon. His boldest prediction right now, he's all in on Malik Nabers as a potential top wide receiver. And for your draft, keep an eye on JD5 and Breece Hall. They're looking like top picks this season.
This is Michael. I'm another caller. I'm on the line too. And I just want to know, what running back does he like that you haven't mentioned yet that I should draft?
Hey, Michael, great question. One running back Smitty's high on but hasn't mentioned yet is Bucky Irving. He's shifty, elusive, and ready to break out. Definitely a name to keep on your radar.
Okay, and is Smitty in a coma? I heard a rumor he's in a coma.
Hey, Michael, just to clarify, Smitty's not in a coma. He's just taking a quick break, but he'll be back soon. We're holding down the fort in the meantime.
That's good PR, Kruger, to kind of, hide the fact that I'm in a coma. We don't want people running away and unsubscribing and saying, I didn't sign up for Kruger alerts. I'm here for Smitty.
Don't worry, Smitty, just making sure everyone knows you're still the man behind the scenes. We're keeping the show strong until you're back in action and everyone's here for the long haul.
All right. Thank you, Kruger.
You made me feel like a spaceman, Smitty.
Quick break. Everyone knows I wouldn't take a break. Something's wrong. Smitty fell off the Matterhorn head first. He's in a coma. He'll be back. He's on a quick break.